right, everyone, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we heard over the weekend. Obviously, the biggest news was that we're not going to get season Daryl Dixon until next year, which, yes, does suck. I think that, disappointed everyone. We're excited to see it. But a lot of other interesting stuff came out around this. So I'm going to just show some of the stuff I was tagged in, some of the stuff you guys have probably seen because it's, what TDers have posted on social media, but also some of the conversations that me and my fellow theorists were having about it. The funny thing is, all of this was happening on Friday, and I was with my mom all day on Friday, so I couldn't jump into it, but I was just kind of reading things where I could and replying where I could. And then I ended up being gone all day, not getting home till like almost midnight and getting into bed. So I just couldn't really do much with it over the weekend. But so we heard that they are not doing Daryl Dixon till next year. And you know what? That actually made a lot of sense because they weren't at Comic-Con. And I didn't predict that. When I heard they weren't going to Comic-Con, I didn't, automatically think that we wouldn't get it this year. That didn't even cross my mind. But when they said it, I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. Because I think if we were getting Daryl Dixon in the fall, they wouldn't miss this opportunity for promotion. So the fact that they aren't there probably should have told us that it was going to get pushed back. But of course, none of us wanted that, and we just didn't really think about it. But I mean, we've seen so much weirdness around filming and, some of Emily's activities that it kind of makes us think that they are actually still filming more for Daryl Dixon. So it could end up being even better, we hope. And that's why they're pushing it back, but we'll just have to see, of course. So then the other big thing that happened on the heels of that was a lot more acknowledgement of Emily being in the season of Dead City. And that's interesting because, obviously those pictures leaked a long time ago. Everyone's known it, but there hasn't been any official acknowledgement of it in the official channels. And we were really suspicious about that. We're like, why is nobody talking about this when we already saw that she was filming there, right? Well, let me just jump into Messenger and I'll kind of show you what the rundown was for me on what was happening on Friday. So this is actually a little bit earlier in the week. We were just talking about Dead City. According to Collider, it's the best season of any of the spinoffs. So we are kind of talking about, the fact that Emily's being quiet again. She'll be back on Jam in the Van on the 28th. I read the review and I was talking about the AU episode. Maybe I should look at this really fast. So it's this part of the review right here. There's also a structural experimentation going on this season from an episode that does play almost straight up like The Pit or really any hospital drama in pseudo real time to a fun trip out of town for Maggie and Lewis that shows them how life could break out of the patterns established since the dawn of the zombie apocalypse to one of the wildest episodes in Walking Dead history, which I won't spoil here. Suffice it to say, that hour, which comes late in the season, will either be seen as a bold experiment or the true jump the shark moment for the Walking Dead franchise. I personally fall former and laud Hoffman and company for taking a bonkers swing like this. I realize I'm being cagey here, particularly if WD is winding down, but it won't be for everyone. Okay, so this is really if you really look at what they're saying here, they're not telling us what it is, they're not spoiling it, and they're saying it's late in the season, but they're saying it's either going to be seen as be well received as a bold experiment, or it's going to be a jump the shark moment, and not just for the episode or for the season or for the Dead City spinoff, for the entire Walking Dead franchise. That is a bold thing to say. So what on earth could they be putting in this episode that might be seen by some fans to derail the entire franchise? I can't imagine it would be anything other than something with Beth. I mean, I don't know, maybe if they killed off Maggie or Negan, but I kind of don't think that's it. So this is quite a bold statement, but this particular reviewer says that they see it more as a bold experiment. They're not seeing it as a bad thing, but other people won't agree. And we all know that there are certain people who are going to be pissed off when Beth returns. So that's a really interesting thing to say. And so that's what we're referencing here. So I just wrote down here, I read the review, and I think that's got to be the AU episode they're talking about. And Galadriel Jones says, yes, I'm pretty sure it is. It's episode 306. They also talked about a late season 3 antagonist, which I didn't actually read through, but I'll put this review in the show notes so you guys can read it. And so this is where we're kind of talking about this. It seems strange to me that they purposely leaked Beth and Maggie together in the park, and I would guess the same people who check out filming photos are the same people that read these reviews. So the majority of people already know. So why pretend that this is going to be a surprise to all watching this out of the box episode? I think they would actually get a bigger audience of people watching that may only watch because they're intrigued with the review and saying something along the lines of there's a surprise appearance in the episode that will catch any off guard or something to that effect. So we just kind of, I won't go through all of this, but we're kind of talking about what I said, that there's been a lot of weirdness around Emily. Like, she spent much of last year making new music and new television with nothing to show for it yet, and also how she only ever says this in her Christmas card, which you only got if you ordered merch during a certain window last year. Then there's the weird way she quietly stopped promoting her TWD album and how it's been inexplicably delayed, even if after it was announced like a year and a half ago, on and on and on. Let's see. Zero official outlets have acknowledged that she was part of these leaks, including Emily, Lauren, and JDM, all of whom were right there, though JDM did admit in an interview that they knew there were photographers present. Then suddenly Emily is going to be in Paris with Lauren for a French con, which turns into 2 weeks and a dream Italy vacation that randomly coincides with Norman also being in Paris and Italy. She also canceled her appearance at a Belgium music festival at the last minute due to scheduling conflicts. A weekend that came at the end of her Italian vacation and during which she was totally radio silent. Then she posts very briefly from home, I think, though it's just unboxing types of videos for influencer brands. I do think she was or is home for a time, but she has been basically radio silent again these past 2 weeks, other than to promote her Cameo account and also tell us she'll be back on Jam in the Van. So, anyway, you get the idea, that kind of thing that we were. And all of this was like on Wednesday, right? Thursday. So we were going, this is so weird. We don't know what's going on. Then on Thursday, we got this. This is talking about Dead City, right? And 306 Genesis, that's the AU episode. One of the season's biggest creative swings comes from its What If episode. The episode is set up through events from a conversation on a previous episode, eventually revealing that the scenario connects to a situation Negan cannot escape from. The episode also features a redesigned title sequence, making it feel separate from the rest of the season. While it's an interesting experiment and keeps your attention throughout, it is also the type of episode that works better as a one-time experience rather than something most viewers will return to repeatedly. The concept succeeds because Cohan and Morgan fully commit to the material and sell the emotional stakes. Then we were looking a little bit at these pictures, which is from this episode. And I didn't focus too much on the bottles here. I did note the green bottle, but W.D. Way says, one is green and yellow, and the other one has some kind of bird with wings on it. How very, very Beth and Daryl. Let's see. So this is talking about that same review above. Connects to something Negan cannot escape from. Redesigned title sequence. Almost makes me wonder if it's a backdoor pilot for a future show or serving as a similar kind of purpose. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to analyze this when we finally get it. And still, they're not mentioning the surprise guest star, even though they did when it was like Gabriel and Jadis on World Beyond. Or I mean, The Ones Who Live, sorry. Let's see, I'll kind of... WDA was speculating that the redesigned title sequence might have Emily's name in it, which would be really fun. I mean, if she's in the title sequence, that actually confirms a lot of things from a business and financial standpoint, because we'll just have to wait and see if she's in the title sequence, but that would, you would think with something like this, she wouldn't get a title credit. She would get, and special returning guest star Emily Kinney, something like that. If she's in the title sequence, that shows that she's still a full-time paid employee of AMC. So that'll be really interesting to see how that rolls out. And she may not be in the title sequence, but I hope she is, because that would be really fun. And then she says, we know that comes from a conversation earlier on. So headcanon here, Maggie talks about Beth and Daryl and what Beth's death affected him and Maggie and the whole group for that matter. Because, well, I'll get to this in a minute. There's a comment somewhere on one of I think it's on one of these posts I have pulled up, that a fan asked, okay, but how can Beth be in it if it's from Negan's point of view? It makes sense if it's from Maggie's point of view, but Negan, as far as we know, has never met Beth. But if there's a conversation where Maggie talks about Beth, then, he wouldn't know what she looks like, but that's kind of immaterial. It's TV. They got to use actors for it. So then it would make sense, right? So it could be that Maggie's going to talk about Beth to Negan at some point in this season. Okay, so This is one that I have open here from the writer 87. During an interview with the stars of Dead City with a Spanish newspaper, could we see you all in Spain in the future like Daryl and Carol? Lauren Cohan states that's entirely possible because the end of the third season sets the stage for many possibilities. Anything could happen. We might get a message from Daryl and Carol saying, come to us. Now, she's kind of laughing about this, and so I don't know that they would allow this kind of spoiler, but still, they're saying that the possibility is there, right? They're kind of teasing some things. And then this other one, this is something Norman posted. He's just saying thank you to everyone who's been part of it. So once again, Atrim Regina Blue posted this after the fast filming and editing they did. I'm guessing things changed behind the scenes regarding TWD season 12 possibilities, and they are dragging the spinoffs out a little longer. So just more on that. And the idea that, maybe they're filming things with Emily for season 4. We certainly hope so. Something changed. Yeah, we've got more about Italy. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that when the new powers took over and only gave one more season for Daryl Dixon to finish their European adventure that had originally been planned as 5 season story, Daryl Dixon was forced to change how the storyline was going to go. I think they were scrambling on how to bring it all together with the scripts that were already written and locations locked in. They might have finished what they felt they could rework of the scripts and closed it down to start to film as quietly and privately as they could to salvage the last season to work out their overall plan for ending the series. This is obviously why no Daryl Dixon at Comic-Con. It wasn't exactly clear why, but I guess questions are being asked, especially this weekend, and they had to finally make the statement knowing how disappointed everyone was going to be that they're not going to get their Daryl Dixon season 4 this year, and it would be at least another 6 months before we get the end of the series and any real clues on where Daryl's story will go next. But yeah, it kind of makes me believe that Dead City season 3 will end with something really big. Yes, I agree. I think the shakeup with the end of DC3 and this weird AU episode and new mystery antagonist will somehow touch Daryl's story in a tantalizing way. I saw an article that mentioned early 2027, and so possibly it will see the same slot that The Ones Who Lived saw a few years back, February premiere, or maybe that's wishful thinking, just hoping they don't make us wait till late spring. But we will wait. We will keep waiting. I just hope it will be worth the decade plus wait. It also makes me feel sorry for what this has meant for how Emily makes her choices. Then finally on Friday, we saw some official reporting on her being there from Entertainment Weekly. Her return as Beth. And Galadriel says, looks like they waited until the Daryl Dixon delay let down to release this news. So like she's saying, because everyone was disappointed, they kind of tried to go, oh, but look, we're gonna see Beth feel better. But I mean, too, to me, I also think that this shows that they do. I mean, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. You guys don't really need to hear me reiterate this, but they do control how and when things are going to be released, right? Because, I mean, yeah, it leaked the pictures, and obviously that was intentional of her filming, but they also very much made sure that the main outlets were not reporting on it until they wanted them to report on it, right? And we've known this for a long time. The example I always use is Game of Thrones and how Entertainment Weekly was in on Jon Snow's quote unquote death, and like after the premiere episode where he was revealed to be alive, they had this huge Entertainment Weekly spread about it. And so clearly, the magazines, they're very in on the promotion, and they do what the powers that be tell them to do, and it's all worked out behind the scenes. And this is clearly that, because they just weren't reporting on her actually being in it, even though we already knew that. And then all of a sudden, boom, Friday hit, and everybody's reporting it, screaming it to high heaven and all the major outlets, and it's obviously just very, very planned. Let's see. Following the curveballs that this race giving me whiplash. I think everybody felt that way on Friday. Talk about the panel. I've not watched the panel other than a few clips that I've seen on social media. But then we also had other things being posted. So here's this one.
And this person. Hi, I'm Emily Kinney. We are on the set of Dead City season 3. Really so excited to be working with Lauren again. Really glad that Emily went back and do this. I had no idea I get the chance to play Beth again, so I'm so happy to meet. Very exciting for you to see this episode, and get those tissues ready over, Bonnie.
Okay, so first of all, I call BS on Emily not knowing she was going to be able to play Beth again. That's just another thing they say to make it seem like they have no idea what's going on. We all know they do. But it is interesting that Lauren says get the tissues out. Like, Yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to be nostalgic and everything, but she makes it seem like something really super sad is going to happen. Let's see. So then I wrote, yeah, I basically wrote that. The one of Emily and Lauren. Emily says she has no idea she would ever get to play Beth. Everyone who believes that stand on their heads. Even the carolers aren't going to buy that one. So here's some stills. And what I noticed is they do seem to be in a bar. I don't know if this is supposed to be the same bar from episode one or not. It might be, but this ship, this picture of this clipper ship, catches my attention. Whenever I see anything like that, it reminds me of that picture that was behind Herschel in season four that says, "Smooth seas don't make for good sailors." We always see things like this around Beth, and here we are again. Obviously, they're showing us that Beth is going to be in more than just the park scene, some kind of bar. We've speculated that we might hear her sing, and that's looking more promising. But now for the close-up, if you enlarge and look at her hair, you can see that she has a braid right here. Well, that didn't get any bigger. Okay. And what looks like a little beaded necklace and possibly another heart necklace, some kind subtype of necklace. I enlarged it as best I could. What do you guys think? But I'm absolutely sure that she's wearing pink for sure. And then here we go. The writer 87. Oh, go back up. Finally, officially confirmed. Is Emily wearing Beth's original necklace? I noticed the painting of the ship in this video and other paintings from those behind the scene looks. Any theorists have more insights? So yeah, I mean, even if it's not her original necklace, it might be. I'm not sure, but it's very similar. It's if even if it's not the original, it's meant to be reminiscent of that, and that makes sense a little bit because Maggie would remember that. I know they're saying it's from Negan's point of view, but still, um, it's part of who she was, right? She always wore that heart necklace. Also at the panel today for Dead City, Lauren talked a little bit about the AU episode and Emily returning for it. The interviewer asked about the original Walking Dead characters making appearances, and Lauren said, yes, you will see one this season, which was Beth, obviously. And Lauren stated it was a long time in the making. So even right there, they're contradicting themselves a little bit. Oh, we've been planning on this for a long time. Oh, I had no idea this was happening. Yeah, okay. let's just move on. So yeah, I couldn't say for sure whether that's her original necklace, but I think it's kind of irrelevant whether it is or not. The point is they're trying to call back to the original necklace, and that's important because she wore that in seasons 4 and 5. What else have we got? The fact that Lauren Cohan, phone's going off. The fact that Lauren Cohan made a big deal out of it being a Christmas episode had me side-eyeing, TD brain screaming about who's never gotten anything from Santa Claus. And then we can also relate that back to season one of Dead City, or I mean, excuse me, episode one of season 3 of Dead City, because there were Christmas decorations in the boxes. So clearly that's the Christmas decorations are also a foreshadow of this AU, which is going to be taking place during. And that's, you guys, that's that's a huge deal, right? Because we've always talked about the Christmas theme with Beth's return. And, once again, I said this in the last video, but no, I do not think this AU is Beth's return that has been foreshadowed all these years. That would be an immense amount of overkill for such a small return, right? But the fact that we're seeing Christmas as a theme when we're seeing her return in an AU just proves that our theories are correct and that we are looking at the right things here. So then we had Emily responding to TD comments, right? So this post shows Emily responding to a TDer multiple times on Insta in a way that is really promising. I don't know if she's ever responded to us before. I know she had been asked about TD, but typically evades. But take a look at this when you get a chance. It has completely lifted my spirit. Okay, so here's what we're seeing, and thanks to Obadella too for posting this. So Emily just wrote, "You guys, can you believe it?" And she's talking about being on Dead City. And this is a TDer. We've known, haha. Hopefully this is just the start of more to come. To which Emily replied, "I hope so too." I don't think she'd be saying that if she wasn't going to be in The Walking Dead a little bit more. Well, we got the disappointing news today that Daryl Dixon, for some reason, is now postponed until 2027. But then we got the official confirmation of Emily's involvement in Dead City. Not only that, but Emily commented about it on Instagram, to which I replied, and then she liked and replied to me. I don't know, but I'd say this looks pretty positive. She also did not reply to anyone else in the thread, as far as I can tell. What an emotional whiplash kind of day. It really was. It really was. Update, look what else Emily liked. A post saying Team Delusional was right all along. Right here. So this person, I don't know if this person who did the post is necessarily TD, but she says, "Beth, such an unnecessary death. Love that she's here, even if it's one episode. And in either a hallucination or dream? Can she pop up in Daryl Dixon? See, we TDers are not the only ones who want that. But down here, Team Delusional was right all along. 6 likes, one of them was Emily. That's as good as a confirmation in my book. I don't know about you guys, right? Crazy awesome stuff. Oh, JDM is holding down the fort, trolling all the most stressed out fans. So for this, Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan from a new interview about some fans' demands for a romantic relationship between Maggie and Negan. And Lauren says the audience thinks they want it, but they'll change their minds if it happens. It might be one of the least exciting ideas the show could present. And then Jeffrey goes, I fully support the idea of a relationship. He's trolling the fans. And once again, if they were going to do that, I don't think they would let them talk about it like that. It would be like a, hush hush, we're going to reveal this, so clearly that's not something they're doing. And then finally, also, maybe you guys remember me sharing this like a week or so ago. Well, Norman recently liked it. So lots of really fun stuff, lots of fun stuff. And even though it sucks that we're not getting season 4 of Daryl Dixon until next year, I agree with Gladriel Jones. This is so encouraging. Not that we were particularly doubting before this or anything, but it's always nice to see confirmation, right? The instant we saw that Emily was going to be on Dead City, even in AU, we kind of knew, okay, this is the beginning of her return, and I think it's just going to cascade from here. And this is just more of it. So obviously they were waiting till Comic-Con weekend, and they were waiting to make all these announcements. And I feel like, like I told someone yesterday in a message, I feel like there's a ton of stuff going on behind the scenes, and we don't know exactly what it is. Maybe they're filming more, maybe they're moving stuff around, maybe they're reshuffling and focusing different parts of the franchise. I mean, there's no way we could know exactly what it is, but I feel like we can feel it. Like there's just this buzz of activity going on that we can't see yet, but we will see it eventually. We just kind of have to wait for them to reveal it to us. And in the meantime, we have fun stuff like Dead City, and I really liked the first episode, and I'm excited for more of it. So, and I'm obviously especially excited for the one that we see Beth in. So until then, we will just keep analyzing and keep on waiting around. And I hope you guys are having as much fun with this as I am. Like Gladriel said, I hope it won't be too late in the year that we get Daryl Dixon. I can't imagine it would be if they can possibly help it. I think, if they did have to, rejugger some things and film some more, then it just is taking time, the production, to get it finished. But I'm sure they'll get it out to us as soon as they can. They want to get it out to us. They're just having to move things around. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I will be back with the next video. I will actually answer comments and asks, since I didn't actually do that here. So yeah, I will see you then. And thanks for being with me, and talk to you soon.